And once again, it's another new month, so we got another podcast pre-recorded with Jake. This is another one, top tens. Today we talk about our top 10 favorite TV shows, kind of a sequel to what we did last month, and our favorite movies. In particular, I talk about a lot of what influenced me, and also like what we grew up on, and like so much of our favorite stuff. These lists show like how much I love animation and cartoons and stuff, and it shows just how much similar me and Jake are as people, and the stuff we enjoy and the stuff we like. And I tell you what, with him gone to basic, I'm missing the man a lot. And I can't wait for him to get back so we can do more of these in person. But for the next few months, this is what we got, the pre-records. So that's today's podcast. Please enjoy it. Have a lovely day.
And we're in.
I wonder what smooth grooves I put in this week. Bring it down just a little bit closer. Yeah, there you go. There we go.
What if that got louder as I was pulling it?
It probably did. That's how audio works. So it's new month, which means new podcast. April's top 10 rather. The podcast is weekly, but the top 10s are monthly. So new podcast, new top 10. This month we are going to do our top 10 favorite TV shows, which this is a sequel to our top 10 movies. Yeah. And I even alluded to like you notice some glaring exceptions of things I enjoy from my movie list that you will see on this list now. So, I'm excited to see your list because like I can pinpoint a few, but I think this list is going to be the one where me and you have the least amount of crossover.
And I know you're a movie guy, but you know me. I love TV shows.
You're into TV shows the way I'm into movies.
It's simply because, to me, you get more time to meet a character and to learn about a character. And all those episodes, they can really use them to build so much development that movies can do, but usually don't have enough time to do as much of. So that's why I love...
I'm going to do this a little bit more. Yeah, there we go.
Got you.
Because I can see on the waveform, it's like you're just slightly lower than me, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with that later. So, do you want to go first, or should I? Here's the thing. The reason I prefer movies over, like, long for television is because I'm busy. I do things. Yeah. And TV takes a large amount of time. And, like, if I watch a show, I binge it quickly, I get it done, and I move on to the next thing. As for movies, it's like I can sit down, watch a movie, and get a whole story done in like 2 hours. So that's my general thing. But there's a lot of TV shows I consider real works of art. And in this list, you're really gonna see my love for animation specifically. While on my movies list, I had a couple references. I think I did My Neighbor Totoro and stuff, and Your Name. I think I mentioned Last Unicorn and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yeah. But this list, you're really going to see, because I think 6 or 7 of these are all animated things. Yeah. As opposed, I don't know how many animated products are on your thing, on your list.
It looks like there's only about, 4, I think.
4? Okay. Yeah. So not too many more than me.
So most of them are kids cartoons, 3 kids cartoons, and 1 adult cartoon.
Okay. I'm going to start because I cheated.
Yeah.
I have to throw in an honorary 11th pick because I'm not done with the show yet.
Oh.
The show has quickly become one of my favorite shows, but I'm not done with it. I'm in the process. I'm only on like the 3rd season out of 5 seasons.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my honorary number 11 is She-Ra, Princess of Power.
Okay.
If you haven't watched the show because you think it's just like a normal, boring like kid show, or like if your manly ego is getting hurt by a princess show, this show is fucking bomb. It's DreamWorks Studios. It is gorgeous, and it is like the love child of both Steven Universe and Avatar: The Last Airbender.
And He-Man.
And He-Man, of course. Yeah. He-Man and She-Ra. It has absolutely nothing to do with old school He-Man and She-Ra stuff.
Yeah.
But it's way better. It's really good. Like, He-Man and She-Ra's old stuff was always like, it's fun because it's corny and it's dumb. Yeah. This show is legitimately good drama and legitimately good characters. Yeah. I have not been this invested in a villain in a bit.
Oh, wow.
Catra is such a good villain.
Now, do you think that people who watch the old school He-Man would like this this new cartoon?
They're still going to like it because it's still got that kind of... It's still got the fun of what old He-Man stuff was and old She-Ra stuff. It's still got the fantasy elements, still got the sci-fi elements. It's still got the overall just pretty nature of the shows where it's like, look at all these like bright colors and cool stuff. We could sell toys out of this, but like...
Yeah. The art style, the almost...
You're enjoying that cookie, aren't you?
I had to finish it.
You had to finish the cookie.
I didn't want to have it the whole time.
But that's my honorary number 11. So... I'm currently on the 3rd season. The show overall is like the 1st, 4th, and 5th season are all like 13-ish episodes, but the 2nd and 3rd season are only like 6 and 7.
Is it like a special plot line, or is it because...
Not particularly. It's just I feel like the show was just renewed weird. Like, because it's a Netflix original. It's on Netflix. I just recommend go watch it.
Yeah.
So, since I said my honorary number 11, let's go into the actual list with your number 10.
All right, so... My number 10 is actually Shadowhunters, which is a show that I only watched after watching Arrow because of Catherine McNamara.
Uh-huh.
But I did actually really enjoy it because of the... And, of course, there are books tied to this series. It's the Mortal Instruments series.
Oh, you have talked to me about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is really, really good world building and characters. And it's just... And also, one thing I love seeing with shows, because... That's one reason I like TV shows is because when I watch one, I want to see more. So I would go and watch interviews, and they have a great cast chemistry. Mm-hmm. Of course I like Kat McNamara, but like Dom Sherwood, and like everyone in that cast loves each other, and they have such good chemistry. And
give me the soft pitch for the show because I don't remember what you're.
So basically, their Shadowhunters are a race of people with angel blood, who. They sort of see themselves as the protectors of the mortal world, or as they would say, you know how in Harry Potter they call the humans Muggles?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually
they protect the Muggles.
No, it's they have another term. It starts with an M too. I'm trying to think. God, I just blanked. It's you know what? I'm not going to dwell on it. Either way, they see themselves as the protectors of the mortal world, because they have the angel blood that lets them interact with the shadow world, which basically makes them see themselves as higher up than humans and than the shadow creatures, because you find out that the shadow creatures are not all bad. There's vampires and werewolves, and there's things called Seelies who can never lie, and there's a lot of different cool little things they add to their world that just really, really push the story forward. That's why I enjoy it, and it's also really, really cool choreography and fight scenes. So that's one thing I really enjoy.
All right, I there's a lot of you've given a good pitch. I'm actually kind of interested. I'm like, is it like a fantasy type too, or like
now, I will tell you before you watch it. It was a freeform show, so it has a lot of extra drama to it, which I don't mind because I watch CW shows, and I'm used to that. But some people like. You know, there's a lot of romance stuff, and some people, when they watch an action series, they want to see action. And,
I'm not opposed to romance stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I love romance stuff.
I just wanted to tell you.
I love romance stuff when it's done well.
Yeah.
It's like there's so many people who like hate romance and stuff because it's done so badly in a lot of stuff. When you see a good romance on screen, it can carry a pretty bad movie.
Yeah. And the show has multiple different relationships that carry throughout the series, and they do something that I've never seen done with another relationship. The main two I'm not going to spoil it for you. The main two characters of the show, they have an automatic chemistry, and then there's a reason
they have that chemistry.
No, there's a reason that they can't be together for a while, and they find out that reason is invalid, and it's just like they did a really cool thing with that, and And if you watch, you can find out earlier in the series that that reason is not true, but it's just, I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm not going to say too much.
Okay. Okay. So we moving on?
Yeah.
All right. My number 10
Mm-hmm.
sitcom. If you had to guess what I would consider my favorite sitcom to be.
I don't want to put this one too low on the list, but the first thing that popped in my head was Seinfeld.
Seinfeld.
Oh my gosh, really?
Seinfeld is my number 10.
Yes.
It was there's a certain mean-spiritedness I love about Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Where it's like all the characters are assholes, all the side characters are assholes, everyone in the show is an asshole. But it feels real to me as a nihilist,
Yeah.
as a person who's angry a lot,
Yeah.
who doesn't like it. There's a certain part of me that's like, yeah, no, this is the logical extreme of, and I'm saying everyone's an asshole, but everyone's a little bit of an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, no, yeah, because I've seen enough to know that the Seinfeld characters are known for being
No,
cynical.
I was talking about like every day. I was just talking about reality.
Oh,
Everyone's a little bit of an asshole.
I thought you were talking about the Seinfeld characters.
So, and yeah, like
Well, maybe you're right on that too.
I like Jerry Seinfeld's comedy. I find that fairly funny. His constant back and forth, like with Elaine in that show, sets up some pretty funny scenarios. And of course, it gave us some of like, this show was massive when it was on the air. Like it was, when it ended, it was like it was the final episode of the show was breaking records for television.
Yeah.
It was. I feel like it's a perfect example of like the comedic group. So you have Jerry, who's kind of the straight man of the group.
Yeah.
Jerry's, if anyone's like the most relatable, the most normal person, it's Jerry.
Yeah.
He's got his job. He does it. Granted, he's a comedian. It's like, and I love the interludes, like with him doing a stand up about what he's experiencing in the show. Yeah. But Jerry's kind of the straight man. Then you have George, who's like a little bit more out there. He's the instigator for a lot of shit.
Yeah.
He's kind of the reason that a lot of the problems can arrive at times.
Yeah.
My favorite arc of that whole show is him with his fiance.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to spoil the ending to that, but anyone who knows the envelope deal with that show, it's kind of hilarious in a very dark way. Elaine, who's more kind of on like Jerry's side of like the more reserved, but it can also like they all have their own faults.
Yeah.
It's like, and they all bring something different to the table. And then Kramer, who's just insane, but in the funnest way, like the greatest. Like I feel like this show also like set in stone a lot of like the character archetypes for like sitcoms going forward.
Yeah,
that's about all I can say about that.
All right.
You've seen Seinfeld, haven't you?
Yeah.
I was fixing to say there's no way you haven't.
That's one thing about Seinfeld though, is that I like how Jerry's comedy bits are like the cold opens and they actually relate to the show.
Yeah.
Because some shows do cold opens and they're really funny, but it's just like you watch it and you're like, wait, what's gonna happen with this? And then it doesn't have anything to do with the show. I'm like, well, I kind of like it when it connects because it's an episode. It's all supposed to go together.
It's also a constant reminder. It's like, oh yeah, Jerry is a comedian.
Yeah.
Like, so it makes sense of like he's always got these jokes getting ready.
Yeah.
And like they don't never forget that fact. Like he'll bring it up. Like it's like if someone asks him his job or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's all I can say about Seinfeld though.
Yeah.
There's some of these I can go on much longer for though.
I was about to say a lot of these shows. I'm pretty sure all my shows should be notable enough that people will know what they are. I don't think I have anything obscure on here.
Yeah, neither do I. All of my Seinfeld, I think, is just I think it's probably my favorite sitcom because I'm not huge on sitcoms. I'm not too big on The Office.
Yeah.
I don't Friends, I guess is one I can attribute to. Fresh Prince, I can.
Yeah.
Not really into Full House.
Yeah.
But Seinfeld always stood out. For a genre I'm not huge in, Seinfeld always made me laugh.
Yeah. I believe I only have, in fact, depending on what you would consider a sitcom, I only have really one sitcom on my list.
Mm-hmm.
But the next one is not a sitcom. The next one is a kid's cartoon.
All right, you're number 10?
This
or you're number 9?
This is number 9, yeah. And this one it's mostly for nostalgia, but now that they finally put it on a platform and I can go back and watch it, I still go back and watch it and still just love it. It's Kim Possible.
Oh, okay.
I just because I remember how much I loved this show when I was a kid. I always loved the shows where the main character was because the hero of the show is the main character, but I liked shows where the main character was actually a hero.
Yeah.
So that'll come up later in the list, obviously. But
it was a hero, but she was also fallible at times, where it was is that the right word? Where it's she had flaws.
Yeah, she was not.
I haven't seen the show in probably 10 years.
Now,
but
the funny thing about Kim Possible is she did have flaws, but out of anyone on the show, she always tried. She didn't even try to be Miss Perfect. She was just naturally like that.
Yeah.
And they love to play on what flaws she does have. Mm-hmm. And because she gets jealous like everyone else and has boy crushes and stuff like that. But when she's on a mission, she's almost always perfect because she can. So it's really funny to see, especially seeing the dynamic between her and Ron, because that is one of the ships that we remember as kids.
Yeah,
was Kim and Ron, and it's and the saddest thing about it is I love the series and I love the movie they have on Disney Plus, but my favorite movie they ever did is not.
You're not talking about the live action, right?
No.
Okay, I was fixing to say.
I couldn't even get through, and that sounds mean because I like the actor who played Ron. I just didn't like him as Ron.
You just didn't like. It's just not a great. Why is Pat Oswalt is in that movie? Isn't he?
Patton Oswalt is in the very beginning. Yeah.
Why is he in that movie?
I think he was fine as the person they did, but the costume was weird. He played that what is his name? He's like a Germanish villain.
Yeah.
He's usually wearing that big red suit.
Yeah.
He did him, but again, that movie just, and they didn't really replace Monique, but they didn't put Monique in there, which was a really good friend for Kim because Ron was kind of also a love interest, so Kim kind of needed a best friend, and Bonnie did not work for anything, so obviously, that was a mistake.
You know what the only thing I remember about the movie is that terrifying Terminator face. I was like, this was a Disney movie. Why is that? You're ripping up you do this reveal of this robot face on a character, but you actually pull some this Mission Impossible style skin back,
and you're like, no, but that was. Actually, multiple Kim Possible movies had the reveal of one of the characters being a robot, but the one movie that didn't was A Stitch in Time, and I love A Stitch in Time, but I can't find it anywhere, and it's maybe on YouTube, but I just want to watch it for free whenever I want. Not for free, obviously, because Disney Plus costs money, but you know what I mean.
Okay.
All right.
Are we at my number 9?
Yes.
I've already lost all.
Because
I can't remember.
I was at
anything.
number 9, and you were at number 11, so you're one behind me. So you're at 9.
My number 9, not actually a cartoon yet. We've gone 2 in a row without a cartoon, but this show, there's a 5th dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is the dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity, in the middle ground between the light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is a dimension of imagination. This is an area in which we call the Twilight Zone. Dude, you want to talk about a show that has inspired me to write more things, or me to just draw more things, or anything out of this show? It is the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
This show, just for being these kind of episodic stories that were always kind of thought provoking to me, or always made you. I never left a Twilight Zone episode bored. I was always at least somewhat thinking about something. It always piqued my interest or made me think in a new light, or at the very least showed some kind of tragedy. It felt like a Shakespearean style tragedy. Yeah. One of my favorite episodes is I can't remember its name, but it's the actress who's past her prime. She's done acting. She's not not doing anything anymore. She's going into this alcoholic depression, and she's just longing to be in the movies again. And by the end of it, she is in the movie.
Yeah.
Not to review. I basically revealed it, but
yeah.
That and the episode where it's these are both early episodes for the show too. The prisoner on the asteroid. There's a prisoner who is sentenced to solitary confinement, and they don't really reveal whether or not he actually did his crime or anything.
Yeah.
But he's sentenced to solitary confinement on an asteroid, and the only human interaction he gets is just this supply truck that's the supply ship that comes around every so often. Like it's like every 6 months or something. So like he is alone on this rock with no interaction, and it's such a good look of like how solitary can warp the human mind.
Yeah,
because you can be the most like introverted person ever, but you still need at least there's a human need of at least some form of social interaction.
Yeah,
and where the episode goes is like he gets that interaction in form of they drop the ship sneaks him this robot companion woman, and it keeps going in this dark look as he's connecting with it, and then of course it all goes wrong. But the show was always so good at such a deep dive into psyches. I feel like whether it was like what the intro says, like the pit of man's fears or our imagination. Yeah. That's why I was reading that, was because it was like a land both a shadow and substance ideas or what is it? Hold on. A dimension of sound, a dimension of sight, a dimension of mind.
Yeah.
So it's like all these crazy things that can all somehow equate to our own psyches and our own minds.
And this may not be my favorite episode, but this is the episode that comes to my mind, and really, it was such weird because it's a simple concept, but they don't reveal what's actually happening until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably have seen this episode. It's the one where there's like maybe 4 or 5 random people all dressed as characters.
Yeah.
In the bottom of the giant pit.
That's one of the big ones.
Yes. And
one of them's like a clown or something.
Yeah, there's the clown and the ballerina and I can't remember. There might be a cowboy, but like they're all, these characters, and they're just trapped at the bottom of this pit, and they don't know how to get out, and they don't know. But I kind of did notice in the episode, I was thinking like, what are they gonna eat? Like they're all obviously gonna starve down here, and you find out at the end, none of it matters.
Yeah.
So I love that episode.
I also got to give it props for having one of the greatest intros of all time.
Yes.
Like that opening monologue, that imagery, like the effects aren't great, but like it's for the time, it's like this is something interesting. The only style of show that I think has an intro like that is actually the precursor to Twilight Zone, called The Outer Limits.
Yeah.
Which has one of the look up the intro to Outer Limits. It is one of the most terrifying intro. It's not super scary now because like TVs have changed, but what it did at the time was like, you've probably seen a parody and other stuff, but it's do not attempt to control or to adjust your television set. We control the horizontal. We control the vertical.
Yeah.
That's such a creepy concept. Like I love video games or TV shows that will break the fourth wall, but like in a way that horror stuff does it great. It will break the fourth wall, but not in the way you think. Not in a wink at the audience. It's something that will legitimately scare the audience more. Like, have you ever played Doki Doki Literature Club?
I haven't, but I know the story.
That game gets super creepy and is super terrifying, but one of the things it does is towards the end of the game, the main antagonist will look in your computer for the username, like for the name that you have on your profile of the game, and it will call you by that name. Yeah. So if you didn't put your real name in from the get-go of the game, it then calls you your real name. And it's that kind of creepy stuff.
That's so creative.
That mind warpy stuff that I just love. And Twilight Zone was abundant with that kind of thought process.
And another one further up my list is actually heavily inspired by Twilight Zone, so I'm excited to talk about that one too.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know immediately what it is. All right, you're number 8.
All right, so up at 8 we have one. This is not the show that I watched most recently, but this is the longest show that I watched most recently, and the one that really caught my attention is BoJack Horseman.
Okay.
And I know I've talked to you about this one, but
this is a show I've yet to watch, but everyone has told me that I would love.
Yeah, and the best thing about it is I like watching live action TV shows because I like seeing the emotions and the facial expressions and stuff like that. But This show, it just completely makes up for that by taking that thing you love about cartoons, where just anything can happen. It's so so goofball sometimes, and it mixes it with those dramas, and just makes it so deep, and makes you just like. And it also takes the liberties that only cartoons can take by actually not having to use any effects. They can animate
where
whatever
we
they
get
want.
into my love of animation, where it's like cartoons and animation can go so much further than even the best effects can do in reality. And I've definitely met people that are like, but I can't relate to it as much. But then you come across these shows that can really convey emotion out of these characters, the ones you feel for, the ones you cry for, the ones you laugh with.
Yeah.
It's truly an art form, and we'll get my next thing on my list is what I consider to be one of the love letters to animation.
Yeah.
So,
but this one really breaks because it's a really, because if you don't know the plot of BoJack Horseman, it's about a cartoon universe where humans and animals,
like that Twilight Zone episode I was talking about.
Like it's such a funny concept, like I said, such a simple concept, but they just went all out with it.
Mm-hmm.
And most of their jokes, not most of their jokes, but a lot of their jokes are actually based on the fact that the humans and the animals are like both like, coexisting and being celebrities.
It's
and
just a part of this world.
Yeah,
and it's like
it's so interesting.
From what I know of the show, it's a deep dive into like the celebrity's mind.
Yeah.
It's like all the trials and tribulations of this like on his way out type celebrity.
It puts a twist on what we usually see with celebrities in TV shows, with portraying mental health in TV shows, portraying drugs in TV shows, and portraying the way that TV shows are formatted themselves. Because the best thing about BoJack is that he was in a sort of Full House-ish series in the 90s, and they take that contrast between the show he was on, Horsing Around, and the show that he's in, BoJack Horseman, and they just show that you can never really get that happy ending that you get in sitcoms. It's
like the difference between Bob Saget in Full House and Bob Saget's stand-up, where it's like, he's one of the filthiest comedians you're ever going to hear, but then you see him in Full House, and it's like...
And he's like,
it's just complete contrast.
You don't have to worry about that, like
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, because BoJack is not anything like the, and he really wants to be like he is in Horsing Around. That's the sad thing, is that he sees himself as a better person than he is, and a lot of the stuff I've seen on commentaries, that's where I'm getting a lot of the best things I see about this TV show. But the reality of it is that you can't just believe that you're a good person and be a good person. It's your actions too. And that this show really just plays on that, and it's awesome, and they do so many amazing things with it.
All right. Yeah. We moving? All right. My number 8. What I consider to be one of the creators of the show clearly had a love of animation and went full with it. There was not one half-assed episode in this show.
Yeah.
Love, Death, and Robots.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
This is another one of those episodic Twilight Zone shows where it's like, take a concept, explore it, be done with it.
Yeah.
Specifically, it deals with some of my favorite genres. Very cyberpunk episodes. Very, like, every episode has to do with, of course, love, death, or robots.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull up the episode list so I can look at some of my favorite episodes. Specifically, my absolute favorite episode, and it's just because I'm such a huge kaiju fan. Like Godzilla, King Kong, all of that stuff. I love Sonny's Edge is an awesome episode.
Yeah.
It's just cool. It's a good fight. It is the if you like kaiju fights, you're going to love that episode. And it's the way they do it, where it's these people who will just kind of can control these giant monsters, kind of like Pacific Rim. You could control the monster instead of the robot.
Oh my god.
By the way, this show is very hard R. This show is it is bloody.
Yeah.
It is sexual. It is vulgar. It is everything.
Yeah.
It does not hold back.
That's the good thing about
there is a
TV.
reason. If Not Safe for Work was a show, it would be Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah.
Other episodes that really stick out to me, The Witness, I think, has a very Twilight Zone kind of idea where these two characters are kind of stuck in. I don't want to give it away, but the last second of that show, of that episode, really just flips the whole concept. Like, you're watching and you think it's one thing, the last second it flips and you want to watch it again.
I love that. Yeah.
Good Hunting, I think, is beautifully animated, because every episode of the show is animated in a different style, completely different.
Yeah.
Whether they go CG or the more anime route or a more cartoonish route, or there's one episode it's like Adobe style puppetry animation.
Yeah.
And it's all about Hitler.
Oh, I've seen that.
You've definitely seen that one. And granted, not every episode. It's only like 13-ish episodes, something like that. It's not a long show, but it is definitely has presented me some of the greatest short film style stories I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. No, that show, it got me with one. I watched one episode, and it's probably one of the most realistic episodes of that show, because this can actually happen to real people, and it could actually happen to us if our society goes any further. It's the episode where the astronaut is in space and the core gets loose.
That's another example of like the last second kind of twist the whole episode on its head.
Because you're like, she was like, she's done, and then.
That entire episode is like, you've got this uneasy feeling. You've got this really uneasy feeling of like, something's not right here. And then when you find out what it is, it is. It's one of those things where it's like, you knew something was wrong, but you didn't realize it was this wrong.
Yeah.
You know? All right. You're number 9? Or number 8? I gotta remember. There's 7. My brain is. I remember. I have the memory of a goldfish sometimes.
I know. I have the exact same thing, except for mine is because I bounce off of, like, I
think it's because I started with that number of 11, and I was like, that honorary, and then I threw it to you, and then now my brain's all off.
Yeah. But okay, so the next one is Somebody Save Me. It's Smallville.
It's Smallville. I'm honestly shocked Smallville isn't higher for you.
I just have, and
somebody save me. Just get as off key as I can.
No, I went as high as I could. But the reason that Smallville didn't get higher was because the other shows on my list, I tried to think of some criteria for my stuff. So I thought of like ensemble, and I thought of the world building and stuff like that. And I love Smallville, but it's not my favorite of the superhero stuff, and it's not my favorite of like cast ensemble, because let's be honest, the only two characters that really redeem themselves completely in that show are Clark and Lois.
Yeah.
Because Lana has so much hate. Chloe is a good character, but I don't really want to talk about Chloe, just because.
I also love, like, they pull some weird facets of Superman history that they go into. I don't think they ever did like the weird mermaid plot in that show, did they?
Wait, what?
There's a Superman book where he dates a mermaid and has to fight the King of Atlantis. It's a long story. Don't worry about it.
They definitely did not do that.
I was like, did they ever do that? I don't remember. I didn't see the whole show, but I've definitely seen enough of it.
But they did some really cool stuff.
But even just doing like Lana Lana Lang and Laura, what's his actual Lois Lane. Lana Lance and Laura.
These are new Laurel Lance.
We're inventing new tongue twisters.
No, but
why are there so many L's in
Lex
comics?
Luthor, Lois Lane, Lana Lang, Laurel Lane. I don't. I could think of more. I was thinking about it too. Like, why is Superman's closest people all start with L?
There's got to be a weird like why Spider-Man has so many green villains type reason, where it's like, green is a striking color against red. They are compliments.
The writers are just like, we really like the letter L.
Yeah.
But Smallville, it was only so low on the list because of all that criteria. But I still love, and I will go back and watch an episode of Smallville. Like, I just love how they made him, because Superman, what we usually see with Superman is he's faking being the Clark Kent character, where he's just this perfect guy who fakes being clumsy and stuff like that. Yeah. But Clark Kent,
way that
in the show, like, he is really like struggling. Yeah.
The way that Bruce Wayne is the disguise for Batman, it's the same thing for Superman. It's like
Yeah.
Clark is the disguise for Superman.
Yeah. And he learned over the years that being that clumsy, bumbling
Yeah.
Clark is the best thing for him if he wants to help people.
Yeah.
Which
To keep his secret.
it's a really interesting thing to think about.
Also, pretty dope leather jackets in that show.
I see. I like your Star-Lord jacket,
Mm-hmm.
but my Smallville jacket,
I almost bought one.
I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I
I
know.
wouldn't. I need to get it fixed though, because if it was tight on me,
Mm-hmm.
I would wear that thing everywhere. I swear. Like I love it. But
Oh, dude, I had the Star-Lord jacket when I weighed way more, and it's massive on me now.
yeah, I need to find someone who can fix it up. But either way, Smallville, it just does a really, really interesting thing with Superman. And the funny thing is, you only get to see him in the Superman suit, I guess you could say twice if you count the episode where he goes into the future. But other than that,
You haven't read Smallville season 11, have you? The
where it has
comic.
Batman in it.
The
and
comic, yeah.
I didn't get to.
I do I have? No, I don't. But
I was about to say I will order it online.
yeah,
Because,
there's probably some trades or something you can find.
yeah. But it's just, I loved how they start out with Lana, and I love how they made a friendship with Lex, because a lot of villains, you never get to see them in any other light. But Lex, we get to see that he really does try in the
Mhm.
beginning, and he has all the odds stacked against him. And that's also because Michael Rosenbaum, he has his own podcast
Mhm.
that I also love, but he's just a really, really awesome actor for Lex Luthor.
All right. My number 7.
Mm-hmm.
My number 7. This show, I've definitely it's definitely inspired what I currently like do online and stuff with commentary tracks.
Yeah.
Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I should have seen this one coming.
You really should have. This show, it distills my favorite thing, which is watching a movie with friends and tearing it apart.
Yeah.
You know, we do the commentaries now for WandaVision and other things by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
Speaking
in future tense.
of future tense, in Mystery Science Theater, I think is where I really grew, and Riff Tracks, of course, is where I really grew to like that style. It's like, and it's got this great DIY vibe, which if there's two things I love, it's movies and DIY.
Yeah.
Where Crow, he's made out of like old Tupperware and a hockey mask, or not a hockey mask, but like the cage on the front of a mask or whatever, and an old bowling pin and stuff. And the intro itself, I would also throw on there as one of the coolest intros to a show ever.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's corny and fun, but it's fun. It's fun. That's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Because it's all just about tearing apart some terrible movies.
Yeah. Especially when the movie take themselves so seriously,
Mhm.
they need to come in and just really add that fun factor to it.
When it's I do love the type of comedy. It's like take something that's very like considers itself high and mighty and then tear it down a peg.
Yeah.
Knock it down a few. It's like you're not as cool as you think you are.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Mystery Science Theater is that there's different eras of it. There's Joe, Mike, and Jonah. I think that's it. Yeah, where the show was rebooted and put on Netflix, and those episodes are actually pretty solid. I actually like kind of some of the skits they did for that show, because they had these kind of. They did. I think Mystery Science Theater, like the Joe and Mike era, would do musical stuff, but for some reason the Jonah era of that show, some of the music stuff, there's like a kaiju rap in one of the first episodes of that era.
Yeah.
And the dynamic of every host is different of that show. Like every host is like, yeah, you got one who's kind of like the creator of these robots, and then you have the other one who's like more like their roommate.
Yeah.
It feels like, and I really like that. Yes, the host would change, but they were all still funny. And they were all different. Then they would make different types of jokes.
Yeah.
Like whether it was more sarcastic or more like conventionally like structured joke. And I know it's not everyone's speed of a show because it's weird to like you're watching someone else watch a movie.
Yeah.
If you like that kind of content, stay around here. um,
Go ahead and click that follow button.
But it's definitely the show that like I watched and I was like, I want to do this kind of stuff, and now we are.
Yeah.
All right, you're number 7.
Amazing. So,
You're number 6.
yes, number 6.
Jeez.
All right. So this is my Black Mirror. Wait.
What?
I'm going to say Twilight Zone, but
You're
I said it wrong. Black Mirror is the show. Anyways.
Your Twilight Zone, which is Black Mirror,
Yeah, which is
even the creator of that show has come out and been like, yeah, pretty much every episode of Black Mirror is an episode of the Twilight Zone.
yeah. And I
Or is inspired
love
by.
and they all fit together because they have these common themes of technology, obviously, but some of them even have the same technology in different episodes, which I love.
Black Mirror was definitely more connected than Twilight Zone ever was. Where Black Mirror, it's like it all normally has like a technological theme,
Yeah.
but then like technologies would reappear because it's like kind of all in the same world-ish.
Yeah. And it's like sometimes you think that technology doesn't have anything to do with it because they'll start out and they'll throw you for a loop because you're like, how does this have anything to do with technology? And it turns out technology had everything to do with it.
I also will applaud any show who this is one of my favorite things about the streaming platform is like as many bad things as there are. I really applaud any show that doesn't give a fuck about runtimes.
Yes.
Where it's like, no, we need this amount of time to tell this story. We're gonna tell it, and we're not gonna we're not gonna cut important things out.
Yeah, that's one thing I like about Netflix originals, like BoJack's Netflix original and Black Mirror's Netflix original. And like
The runtimes will vary,
but also the fact that they have different runtimes, but they also have less rules to follow because Netflix can do whatever the heck they want because it's their platform.
That's the thing with any streaming service, whether it be Hulu or Netflix or Disney Plus, where it's like, no, we don't have to like block this in a certain way that we have to allot time for commercials and stuff. It's like, no, we can just tell the story.
Yeah.
And Black Mirror, there's some episodes of that show that mess me up. Where where I'm like, I can only watch that show in like one at a time. I can't binge that show because it's depressing.
If you watch them in the right order, because some of the episodes, most of the episodes end badly, but some of the episodes actually do end in a fairly happy way. And I'm only thinking of one, so there might only be one that ends in a happy way. But I will suggest this one because it's like one of my favorites. It's San Junipero. Have you seen that one?
Which one is it?
It's the one where they keep showing different decades.
I think I've seen that one.
Ooh, it's so good. I'm not even gonna say what the concept is because I want people to figure it out. But it was just such a good. It was such a good portrayal of the different decades and of the characters and of the idea of the afterlife, and there's just a lot of stuff going on in that episode.
I will say one of the episodes that messed me up the most was White Bear. That episode messes me up to this day.
That one still leaves me with this really deep, and I still ask myself this because I've never been able to really figure this out. And although I've come to a conclusion a few times, like I can still go back and think about this concept. It's just the fact that when you don't have the same experiences, are you the same person? And do you deserve the consequences that you would get for those actions? And it's just like, that was a really weird way to say that, but I know what I was saying.
That's one of the cool things that's awesome about episodic television. It's like Black Mirror, Love, Death, and Robots, Twilight Zone all had asked you questions, and they'll lead you. The best episodes are the ones where they don't tell you what's right or wrong, and you get to decide that.
Yeah. And like the characters are going to make their decisions, but like we don't have to agree with the characters. And that's honestly how it ends up in a lot of episodes of not just.
This is another show that's not for the faint of heart, by the way.
Yeah, it's not at all.
It's
for
not
kids.
as like it's not as all NSFW as Love, Death, and Robots, but psychologically it's gonna mess with you. So tread lightly.
And especially an episode. This is one of the most popular. It's 15 Million Merits. 15 Million Merits had a scene that still to this day, like, really gets to me.
There's another episode where it's the one with the guy who's like the two guys who are like in kind of ostracized from society and like in this cabin in this place.
Oh, it's the White Christmas.
Yeah, I think it's the Christmas one. And there's this one scene in it where this guy, he goes home with this girl, and I really don't want to spoil this for the people that haven't seen it, but it goes wrong, and then in this scene, it goes wrong in such a escalated way where you're like, no, 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 and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
Where it's like you start to be like, oh, this is going really good for this character. It's like, oh, this is less good. Oh no, this is going very badly. And it's bad.
And sometimes you get to watch one, and actually, okay, I just thought of another one that ends in a sort of happy way, which it really doesn't, but it's not depressing like the rest. Nosedive. Nosedive took a real look at it's really realistic in a way because it looks at our social media society and sort of just alters it into this all power thing that controls everybody, which it sort of is, but not in the way it is in Nosedive, obviously.
This is gonna date when we record these, but like, did you see that Microsoft? I think it was Microsoft. Someone took out a patent for basically the idea of creating a chatbot out of your social media, out of you die for your loved ones to use. That was literally a Black Mirror episode.
I don't like that.
Neither do I.
And that episode really ended in a weird way too, because it wasn't exactly unhappy.
No, but I don't
it
want.
was just super.
I'm gonna put this out there now. Don't use my Twitter to decipher to make a chatbot that will help my loved ones.
Yeah. I want my loved ones to read about me like I was a historical character. I don't want them to talk to a fake version of me like I'm a fucking
you
video
also gotta
game.
think like how people talk on the internet. It's like, imagine that was your dad, and then it's just like you're just arguing about politics all the time.
And that's one thing. Like people, even people our age, but people who are older especially, they don't communicate with us the same way that we communicate with them. So it's like sometimes they don't use punctuation, and they seem to have a different mood. So it's like you really can't read emotion like you can. So that just does not seem like a good idea.
I'm sure it's just one of those things where it's like they take out patents for everything and cover all their bases, so that if they have any like remotely thing that's gonna go in that direction, they can patent it and make money off it. But
Microsoft has enough money; they can just take out random patents.
And here's the thing: it's like you can argue it's like, oh, they're making technology out of what was a Black Mirror episode, when in reality, no, this Black Mirror is it's taking all the technology that we currently have and being like, this is the logical extreme, and when we live in a society of logical extremes, you're gonna see it happen.
And just so everyone who's listening knows, if anyone's gonna try to invent something from Black Mirror, again, watch San Junipero.
Yeah, just don't.
That's the only technology I would want invented. Other than that, stay away.
All right, my number 6 now.
Okay,
I'm right this time.
Yes.
My number 6 was a tie, but it was a tie because the shows are very similar. They're produced by the same person, and I think that they really accomplish some of the same things.
Yeah.
My number 6 is a tie between Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures.
Okay. I see that.
Similar vein of shows. These two shows, I feel like were the first time since the original Looney Tunes that that society had seen something this fresh and something this close to those classic Chuck Jones cartoons.
Yeah.
Something that was original and crazy and did its own thing and was such a perfect level of imagination. Something that was like so creative and fun that you were able to just... I've noticed a pattern where it's like my movies were a lot more depressing than my TV shows. My TV shows are a lot more happy, and that's where I go.
Yeah.
For that. Tiny Toons and Animaniacs both are gorgeous in how their art styles are. Like, hands down, beautiful. They were these characters where they were all distinctly different, because Tiny Toons is about a new generation of toons learning from the older generation.
Yeah.
I think they even reference it in the theme song. It's like the teaching staff's been getting laughs since 1933.
Yeah.
Which I find it's a cool little nod.
So freaking meta.
It is a little meta.
Yeah.
But the characters were all defined in a different way, because Babs and Buster were different from Bugs. And Lola wasn't around yet, so
Yeah.
but you wouldn't confuse those two for they kind of. Babs was always more into like the celebrity jokes and stuff, while Buster was much more into the sarcastic kind of humor that Bugs had.
Yeah.
But you would never confuse. If you showed me a joke that each of them did, you would be able to tell which one was Bugs, which one was Buster.
Yeah.
And like and some of the counterparts never even really had anything to do. Like Elmira has nothing to do with what is his name? I'm hunting wabbits.
Oh,
Elmer Fudd.
Yeah.
I don't know why that took me so long. And it was you took something that was perfect, the Looney Tunes, and you made it, you didn't try to make it better. You tried to make it its own thing, which I think really did good. And Animaniacs creates these original characters and does that, where it's like, you have all these imaginative ideas. There's an episode where they go to an entire country that, is their chief export is anvils, and of course it's like you're on a cartoon. There's anvils. These jokes write themselves.
Yeah.
And of course, full of celebrity jokes, in jokes. Overall, these were cartoons that I can watch at any time and laugh, and really laugh, like holding your stomach on the ground, crying, laughing.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can go now.
Now we're at number 5.
Your number. I almost said 6.
I had to stop you this time just in case.
I know. I was gonna say 6 too. You're number 5.
My number 5 is, and you might have this on your list, and I actually really hope you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's Teen Titans.
Okay. Do we talk about this now or when we get it on my list?
If it's higher up on your list, we can
It's higher up on my list.
We can wait and talk about it
Okay.
when you get to it.
So we'll go to my number 5.
Mm-hmm.
My number 5. It's an anime. Cowboy Bebop.
Ooh.
Cowboy Bebop has one of the greatest soundtracks to a show ever.
Yeah.
Prior to seeing this show, I was not huge on jazz,
Yeah.
but this show made me love it.
I'll go ahead and tell you, because of you, this show is on my list.
Cowboy Bebop is on your list?
Yes, it's on, and I don't have a very long list yet, so it's on a short list. So
Wait, it's on this list?
No, not
Okay.
this list. It's on a list of shows that I'm going to watch very soon.
Cowboy Bebop has one of the greatest. If you like science fiction western, if you like either of those genres, you're gonna love that show, because that's what it is. It is this bounty hunter going on bounties. There's some overarching little plot points, but overall it's pretty episodic. The entire cast, whether it's Faye, whether it's Jet, I love them all.
Yeah.
There's bizarre episodes where they accidentally take space mushrooms.
I like to watch that one, actually.
It's actually a pretty good episode. If you like weird imagery, that's a good episode.
Yeah.
There's an homage to Alien in one of the episodes. But overall, Spike Spiegel is the definition of cool.
Yeah.
Spike is like he's a cowboy.
Mhm.
And it's not a long show either. It's like 25 episodes in a movie, I think.
Space Cowboy.
20 something episodes, maybe 30. I've seen it like
I've got it.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't.
good.
I've got it says 26 episodes on my list.
26 episodes. It is like the perfect, like everything I love out of science fiction, like spaceships and like fly like rocket battles or spaceship battles rather.
Yeah.
Like out of Star Wars or stuff, but it's animated so beautifully and so quickly. It's almost like something out of Gundam as opposed to something from Star Wars.
Yeah.
And the Western aspect, where it reminds you a lot of like an Eastwood movie where he's on Mars, where we've kind of colonized. What I also like about the show is like, it's a sci-fi thing, but it's one of these grounded sci-fi shows where it's like, yeah, we've colonized other planets, but we've colonized planets in our solar system. So Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars are all colonized, and then all the moons on the gas giants and stuff, those are what are colonized, because it's like, oh yeah, they have land there, and like we can terraform. It goes into like terraforming them, and some episodes talk about what the consequences of terraforming those are.
Yeah.
And it is a show, I will say, and what I was saying was like him walking on Mars, and it reminds you of like an Eastwood movie, The Man with No Name, walking along, and the way Spike fights is very Bruce Lee. Mm-hmm. It's very Jeet Kune Do, but it's all synced to the music. Like one of the reasons I love Baby Drivers, because it's like they use the music as a part of it.
Yeah.
There's one other point I was gonna make, I can't remember, but I was gonna say, here's the point: if you're interested in watching a show, but you're not huge on anime, don't. I know some people would like dub shame people, but like this show, the best way to watch it is its dub. The acting in the sub version, the original version, not bad, but not great.
Yeah,
not great. If you really want the experience of Cowboy Bebop, the dub is the best way to watch it, in my opinion. All right. So,
my number 4.
Number 4,
and I'm also kind of surprised that compared to like something like Teen Titans, this got so high up the list. But like I said, I based off of that criteria, and this one had such a good ensemble to me that it had to go high up. It was Parks and Rec.
Okay.
And
I could see that.
So just for context, The Office is not on my list.
Yeah.
And I know some people will get mad at that, but I honestly do think that I like Parks and Rec way better than The Office.
I like Seinfeld better than The Office, so don't feel bad.
It's just because because in The Office you find these characters that really, most of them don't like each other and don't have. I mean, they have good chemistry with comedy, but they don't have good chemistry with each other. As in, like, most of them aren't friends.
I'm just not good with cringe comedy. Is not my thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like The Office had a lot of that.
Yeah, and Parks and Rec definitely has some of that, but it's just The Office does it like every episode.
Yeah,
and that's something that, and I watched The Office and I like The Office. It's not one of my favorites because I'm not as big on that concept, you know. But Parks and Rec, one of the reasons I like it so much is because it's got really, like the same way that The Office tackles like jokes about the business world, the Parks and Rec goes that same concept, but they do the government world, which is to me so much funnier because there's so much to make fun of about, especially our local governments.
Yeah,
like it's such smart comedy, and the characters, like, except for Andy. Andy obviously is not smart comedy, but he sort of is in a way. Like they sneak smart stuff in there, but I just love characters who just are they're just the dumbest possible character, but they're so lovable and so nice that you can't help but like just laugh at every single thing they say and sympathize with them no matter what they do. And Andy's definitely my favorite character on Parks and Rec. And he's played by Chris Pratt, and I love Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. And also, it's Chris Pratt before Star-Lord, where it's like... then wasn't the joke in the show, it's like the reason he got so ripped so quickly was like, I stopped drinking beer for a weekend.
Like he
went from like this kind of schlubby guy and directly into like Star-Lord level ripped Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
And like that, because it's like, I stopped drinking beer for a weekend.
Yeah. And
which
eventually,
is a good joke.
You can definitely see by the end of the series, because the end of the series, this isn't a spoiler because like it's just a bit. He plays a character called Johnny Karate, and just it's so funny to see him playing a character that, like, because he loves performing. Whether you're talking about Chris Pratt or Andy, they both love performing, and it's funny to see how a person like Andy could, because it's a kids show, so he brings so much to it, and it's so hilarious. I just love. I should stop bragging on Andy because there's so much to love about all the other characters, like Ron's deadpan humor and Leslie's like never-ending optimism, and just like the awkward factor of Ben and his nerdiness, and just like there's so much.
It's what I was talking about with Seinfeld. It's the comedy dynamic of this group.
Yeah,
you put them in a room and it will write itself.
Like this is truly, Parks and Rec is truly one of the best. The only ensemble that tops them more than that is the show that I have right above that, and I'll talk about that like soon. But
okay, well, my number 4 is the one you mentioned 2 ago, which is Teen Titans.
Yes.
I put Teen Titans a little bit higher on my list. I think we were a good age for this show. I think it's one of the reasons me and you got into comic books the way we did.
Mm-hmm.
Where even there was a period in time where my brain wouldn't equate Batman to or Robin to Batman. It would equate Robin to the Titans.
Yeah.
Even to this day, where if you tell me Dick Grayson, I'm gonna think Titans and Nightwing.
Yeah.
Like, that's my thing, and that's the reason he's definitely my favorite of the Robins. I know there's a lot of Damian fans, a lot of Jason Todd fans, Tim Drake fans, but Nightwing was always the one I was the one I most liked.
Yeah. And when people parody and make fun of Batman, Robin usually becomes even more of a butt of the joke.
Yeah.
Because he's like the nerdier
Oh,
little
golly,
sidekick.
geez, Batman.
Exactly. But the version of Robin they did in Teen Titans was literally my favorite character in almost all of animation, just because I just loved everything
good.
about it.
And there's episodes where he grows. Like, there's an episode where he doesn't think he's worthy enough to be with the Titans, so he leaves and goes training. And there's another any episode where any dynamic with Slade in that show, where it's like there's points in that show where he's ending up working for Slade, because it's like, well, he's doing it for the Titans though, because otherwise they're gonna die.
Yeah.
I think they chose a good mix of characters for that show. To this day, I still have a real hard time picturing Cyborg the way he's normally depicted.
Yeah.
Because if you say the word cyborg to me, my brain instantly goes to the giant blue shoulder pads, the sonic cannon stuff, like that design.
Yeah. And I love, because Cyborg in the Justice League movie even was so serious and so ashamed of himself. And of course the Cyborg and Teen Titans had that, but he hid it behind the comedy, and they just did it so well. Yeah.
He hid it behind
definitely.
comedy, but also it's like there were episodes dedicated to him, kind of him experiencing that and him overcoming it.
Yeah.
When he fights the leader of the Hive, he basically, I saw a cut of it earlier, like literally early in the week actually.
Yeah.
Of someone playing with the Ultra Instinct music from Dragon Ball. It's like, okay.
And I love the episode where he goes undercover in the Hive school as Stone, or Victor Stone, because that one just it makes you so sad for him in a way, because you see how much he really just wants to be a normal person, but how much he also loves being a hero, and where that conflict meets.
Mm-hmm. And it's like every character had legitimate conflict and legitimate. Every season of that show focuses on one of the Titans mainly.
Yeah.
Or so like Robin and Deathstroke's dynamic, Cyborg and the Hive, Beast Boy and the Doom Patrol, Raven and her father. Starfire is an interesting example because she's absolutely nothing like her comic counterpart. And honestly, I prefer the one from the TV show.
Yeah.
Starfire in comics it's just kind of this fantasy, like, love character for Dick Grayson is really what she is.
Yeah.
And they've used her as that for a long time. They haven't changed it up much. That show completely flips the character around. She is nothing like the Starfire of a comic. She is a completely different character, and I prefer that one. This one that's more naive, but like is learning about this new world.
Yeah.
It's like,
and like the way that they set up the relationship between her and Robin, and
it's a slow burn.
Yeah,
it's one
exactly
a relationship that like deserves it to happen.
Yeah, again, just like I was talking about Kim and Ron being like the childhood ship earlier, that Starfire and Robin, even more than that, like got to me, because I absolutely adored Robin as a character, and I adored like the way that him and Starfire had a responsibility to the job they were doing more than they had a responsibility to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I didn't think about that like that when I was a kid. But,
even the minor things about this show, where it was like, I looked behind the scenes on everything I can, and with that show, they were like, No, they're gonna stay the heroes the whole time. We want kids to be able to identify with Robin, not Dick Grayson. Like they barely allude to his name like twice in the show.
Yeah.
In 4 or 5 seasons.
It's so funny to me, and so like I was talking about Ensemble. That's one of the reasons that Ensemble is so important, is because you see shows like that and you see why Ensemble needs to be like the forefront, because they just make every story better by being friends and by working with each other and being around each other.
And even if you want to talk about like the characters that weren't front and center, like Titans West, I think they're called Titans East or whatever.
I think there was multiple different. I don't.
There was different ones, but like
yeah,
there were characters in that I was just as kind of interested in. It's like Speedy being kind of this friendly rivalry for Robin.
I loved that dynamic, especially in the episode where they have the weird Fight Club thing, the magical Fight Club thing where they were against each other.
Like as a kid, like Beast Boy was one of the coolest things to me.
Yeah,
like it's just like, they gave minor details to characters, like, oh yeah, Beast Boy being a vegetarian makes so much sense.
Yeah,
like of course he would be. He turns into animals, or Cyborg being a car guy. It's like these little things that like.
Or Starfire loving animals, loving Silky.
Just giving these characters these little things that really deepen them. It's like the things they like. It really adds to any character.
Yeah.
If you ever have a character that you feel is flat, or you feel doesn't have as much, give them something. Give them like a little thing to the thing you think about, the things you like.
Yeah.
Like my brain is constantly going off about movies or like how to make something. But if you give a character like, oh, this character is really into cooking, so this character, if they hear something, it makes them think of that, and I think that really will deepen and enrich the characters, which this show did so well.
And that's sort of like this show. Literally, the characters were just so amazing, and the characters being so amazing is one of the reasons why Teen Titans Go would end up on one of my least favorite, probably top 10 least favorite shows list, because they ruined it.
Okay. Teen Titans Go, we'll address this. I didn't like it when it came out.
Yeah.
I wasn't on like the super like hate bandwagon for it, but it wasn't a show I was gonna watch. I recognize it's for an even younger audience than what the original show was.
Yeah.
However, I will say what that show's done great is the self-awareness.
Yeah.
Like the movie is actually legitimately hilarious.
Yeah.
Where you kind of, once they shifted away from like this more kiddish type show to giving it the humor of a we know what we are, so we're gonna embellish ourselves in it. Like there's one line, there's literally an episode of Teen Titans Go where there's a kid, and Robin is like, do you like the Teen Titans? And it shows it shows them or the Teen Titans, and it's the old show, and then the kid picks the
old show.
The old show.
Yeah.
That would be enough, but then Cyborg even says, it's like, nah, I get it. Animation-wise, there's really no comparison.
I mean,
it's that kind of mean-spirited self about itself that I find hilarious.
Have you seen the movie where they put both groups together?
No.
It's the worst part.
That's not
about it to me.
The one where they're trying to get a movie, is it?
No,
that's the one I've seen.
That was the movie they put in the movie theaters.
Yeah,
but this one I only
good.
saw on like YouTube. But it was the original Teen Titans group, because it was like a multiverse movie.
Yeah.
With the Teen Titans Go group.
Oh.
And the whole movie they're making jokes about how much better the Teen Titans group is.
Yeah.
But the thing that the reason that Teen Titans, because when I first watched Teen Titans Go, it did not bother me at all. I thought it was funny.
It was a thing that existed.
Yeah, exactly. But the longer it went on, and the more I realized that we weren't getting any more Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans, that's when I started to really resent the show.
I think that's what happened to a lot of fans of that old show, where you were realizing it's like, oh, this show was canceled early.
Yeah.
And where it's not going to happen now.
Like, if they would have given Teen Titans its full run and actually done it justice,
if the show had ended instead of being canceled,
yes,
I feel like the backlash would have been way worse, or would have been way better.
If they were going to bring back Teen Titans property, they should have fixed their mistake in canceling the original one, but instead they put all their money behind this thing that ruined the Starfire Robin ship. That and I shouldn't say ruined, because, like you said, it's not the same at all.
Yeah,
we can't look at it as the same, but then again, it's hard to, because it's the exact same characters, the exact same style,
exactly,
but with a
that
simpler
brings
art
a
style.
good point.
Super humor.
The reason that I think that show got the hate it did because it's like you changed the characters of that, and the comedy dynamic was like that. The thing is, it's like it's not like Ninja Turtles or something where it's like so every character. The original one was like that, where it's like every character had their defined thing. It's like you have the tech guy or you have the goofy character or whatever. They were all different. They were all different characters. With Teen Titans Go, it was like you can hand any line to any character and it's gonna get the same level of reaction.
Yeah.
Whereas you get more interesting comedy in scenarios when you give the correct line or the correct scenario to the correct character.
Yeah.
So if Beast Boy is in like a dark situation, it's a little bit funnier than if Raven was in it.
Yeah.
Or if Raven is dealing with I think there's an episode where like they're in some kind of hallucinating thing and her thing is like it's all just really cute stuff and she hates that.
Like the TV show episode.
That only works with that character.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you lose some of that in the other side.
It's like because I think I see what they were trying to do with Teen Titans because they tried to flip it on its head. Mm-hmm. Because every character is almost basically the antithesis of what they originally were.
Mm-hmm.
Robin is definitely the stupidest and most useless member of the Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Beast Boy and Cyborg are kind of the same, except for they're both stupider, obviously. Raven loves My Little Pony and stuff like that, and she's just more hateful.
I guess that is a juxtaposition where you have this dark character, but like, how long can you carry that joke?
Yeah. It's just like... It's like they tried so hard to turn it on its head or tried so hard to make it more of a kid's show that they really lost what was magic with the original show, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, like I do understand the point, but I will never get over the fact that we never, and we probably will never get another Teen Titans series
we'll
over
never
the ending.
That conclusion.
And to me, it's almost because of Go, because if they didn't have Go as an option, they could have done a last season of the original show. So, but we spent basically 2 segments talking about this because we both had it. So I think
because
we're
both had
good
it on our
Teen
list because we were a good age for it.
Yeah,
I forgot where even are we? Are we on mine or yours now?
About
because that was my 4,
yeah.
so you're on your 3 now. I got it right. Got it right finally.
So my number 3 is another ensemble that I freaking love, and I talk about the show so much.
Another group of characters.
It is Community.
Okay. Community was an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, because it's just it's the fact that they adapt the genres of different movies and the styles, and it's just every character has their own like we were just talking about. Every character has their own
quirks. They have their own desires, they have their own quirks. They're all different characters.
Yeah.
And like I was saying earlier, you put them in a room, literally in Community's case.
Yeah.
And the comedy will write itself.
Yeah.
You will give them a scenario, and every character will react to that scenario differently. Community took things to a slightly higher level of being meta and being a little bit. Of course, it's a Dan Harmon show, so like
yes,
it's got his brand all over that of like not smarter comedy, but more complex.
Yeah, and they even did like enough to go in the cast evaluations. It's not even a part of the series. I think it's might be part of the DVD.
Mm-hmm.
But even that is just another comedy bit. Like the reason there's so many, like you can go on YouTube and look up Community, and you will see so many videos that just say like one moment from each episode of Community.
Yeah.
Because if you just watch one moment from each episode, you'll be like, what the hell is going on in this show?
It's insane.
Because it just jumps everywhere, and part of that is my brain that just loves all this different versatile stuff. But part of it is just the fact that they use the same characters in all these different situations, and it always works so well.
It always works. And like one of my favorite episode of Community is the G.I. Joe episode.
Yes.
Where it's like, there's this, you took G.I. Joe and put this like depressing background story to it, like this this depressing sublayer behind it, and like the Community was always like making fun of something really depressing.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, definitely. Because like you look at an episode where like there's an evil version of all the characters, and first of all, the first time that's mentioned, amazing episode. The Chaos Theory episode, I think it's called. It's not exactly called that, but something Chaos Theory.
The dice or whatever.
This is the episode where they throw the dice up and stuff like that. But when Evil Abed comes back later, you find out that it's because Abed is having trouble coping with something.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not this magical concept. It's just
manifestation of something else.
Yeah. It's just the fact that their world works so well with all these different concepts, because the community college is a pretty crazy place.
Yeah.
And they just went to the complete extreme of that.
Yeah. You took it to its logical extreme.
Yeah.
And I think that's about all I can say about it. But like, it was definitely a show that was like, I watch it for one reason, being like the overanalyzing script, like guy who's gonna like read the script to a movie he likes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then my other friends can watch it. It's like, yeah, it's got some good jokes.
No, I love watching these episodes and just thinking about how much work went into adapting this style. Like the paintball episodes, I love. They did so many different genres and themes that I could not possibly cover all of them. The Dungeons and Dragons episode, even though I haven't seen the first one because it's banned off everything, I've heard that episode is like one of the best episodes of Community, which is kind of a shame.
I remember the one with.
You remember the one with the old guy and his son?
Yeah, that's the one I remember.
There was actually 2 Dungeons and Dragons episodes. The first one got banned because the character, Chang's character, he was dressing up as a dark elf and painted himself completely black.
Okay.
And they made a joke being like, dude, that's not okay in the show. And he was like, what? I'm not trying to do that.
They did the Tropic Thunder where it's like, you're doing it, but you're being self-aware about it doing it, but it's still doing
no, because he wasn't even trying to portray a black person. He was trying to portray like a character, but
the joke was that
like he was trying to do it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
and that's why you can't find it anywhere on a streaming service, because nobody's going to touch that. Like
it's like how old Looney Tunes cartoon, you have to have on the DVD they have like Whoopi Goldberg come out and be like, listen, this was another time, but we can't erase this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah. No, I can't really speak on it because I haven't seen the episode. I don't know what else they say about it or what else they do about it. I would just like to see it simply because I'd like to see all of Community. That's the only reason I want to see it, not for any novelty reason or because I think that's funny. It's just,
Okay.
All right.
What am I up to? My
3.
3?
Yeah.
Okay. My 3 is the reason that there were no Star Wars movies on my top favorite movie list. I love Star Wars. I think Star Wars is great. I am firmly believe that Star Wars is a much better franchise suited for television than it is for movies, because most of the Star Wars movies suck.
Dude, and the lore that goes into those. That's what I was saying earlier.
Most of the Star Wars TV shows are great.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Okay.
This show was so clearly made by people who both loved and hated the prequels.
Yes.
Because it was like, oh yeah, you've got this clear idea. It's the closest thing to what I imagine like George's vision being of this history, of this lore, of these years. Of the leading up to the Empire, and how Sidious slowly took everything over and what was happening between all the episodes. And I'll be fair, it's like not every episode is a banger, but I would say there's probably a better rate of good episodes to bad episodes than they're all good Star Wars movies to bad Star Wars movies. Because I'm gonna be real, I like Star Wars a lot, but I'm gonna say that there's about 4 good movies. That's less than half.
So the original trilogy, and you like
3.
You
No, I'll even throw Force Awakens. Wait a minute. I'll throw Force Awakens and Rogue One in.
Okay, I didn't know you were counting Rogue One.
I forgot
Rogue
it
One is really
existed,
good.
to be honest.
Have you seen Solo?
Yeah, I've seen Solo. I didn't like it.
I did not see Solo.
It was, you know what? There's a reason on planet Earth why the word meh exists.
Yeah,
And it's because of that.
oh,
It's because of that movie.
And we just talked about like a Childish Gambino thing. I love Childish Gambino, or I guess I should
Oh,
say
well,
Donald
feel
Glover.
great because Donald Glover's getting a Lando series.
Oh wait, and he was good as Lando.
Yeah, he was fine as Lando.
Okay,
That's good.
Then I'm definitely gonna go back and watch Solo. But I'm also really excited for him to get a series because I just love Donald Glover.
That's one thing we didn't mention with Community is how great the cast is.
Yes,
Like across the board.
just even outside of the ensemble of characters, the cast is just all stars.
But Clone Wars, even the one of my favorite. Now that I look at this, I made a glaring exception from this list, not putting any Genndy Tartakovsky shows on here, like Samurai Jack or Powerpuff Girls or anything like that.
Yeah,
Because he also did the 2001 2D Clone Wars show, which is where Grievous came from and all this stuff.
Yeah,
It's a really good show. The next step is the 3D show. In this show, it looks good. It makes me realize it's like, oh, this is why Jedi are cool.
yeah,
Literally, I think it might actually be the first episode is Yoda crash lands with some clones, and like, they have to make this meeting with this representative. Of course, Dooku's assassin Ventress is there.
yeah.
There's a point where Yoda, he just tears through some droids. You're like, oh yeah, you're like the Grand Master of the Jedi, and this is why it shows here.
Yeah.
And on one hand, you can argue it's like, should Yoda even be fighting at all? But like, when he does, though, it's cool.
Yeah.
It just with that type of character, that kind of Gandalf character. There's a point in that episode where he force pulls both of Ventress's lightsabers just from her, looks at them, makes some comment, and just throws them back to her because she's that little of a threat to him.
Yeah.
Like you're the top assassin for the Separatists, and you are nothing to this little green dude.
Yeah.
It endeeps every character. It endeeps Yoda. It goes further into Obi-Wan. It gives Obi-Wan. There's full theories. It's like people thinking that a particular character is Obi-Wan's son because it might be alluding to that.
Yeah.
It really takes Anakin and treats him the way that Obi-Wan talks about him in A New Hope, where it's like he was the best starfighter in the galaxy.
Yes.
And a skilled general, and he's all these great things. Not to mention, it adds new characters that I love. Captain Rex is hands down one of the greatest Star Wars characters.
Yeah.
Not to mention, my hands down favorite Jedi of all time, Ahsoka Tano, was introduced into this show.
That's what I was going to say.
She goes from, if you want to talk about a character's evolution, she goes from this annoying little side character, this annoying little Padawan for Anakin, to becoming one of the greatest, most well-developed characters in all of Star Wars. And the show's only like 5 seasons.
Yeah.
And of course, it's all these 2 to 4 episode or 1 to 4 episode arcs for everything.
And I loved the fact that they were able to bring Ahsoka into it and make her such a famous Star Wars character.
She's getting her own show now.
Which she was really like one of the best things that came out of it. Just like Batman the Animated Series created Harley Quinn and she got famous, like I hope Ahsoka gets the same treatment.
She has, to be honest. Like she is a fan favorite at this point. And honestly, Batman the Animated Series was a honorable mention for me.
Yeah.
We got to remember to go through our honorable mentions. But Star Wars: The Clone Wars, like, yes, not every episode is just fantastic, but most of them are.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them really add some layers to this world, the same way Mandalorian does.
Yeah.
And I think the track record is that and I think even Disney's realizing this. Star Wars works better as to TV shows.
Yeah.
Like we got like 10 Star Wars shows that were announced, and you know what? I'm gonna watch them. I'm gonna watch them, all of them, because I think that is the best platform for Star Wars. I think that's the best medium.
And everyone was saying that Disney was gonna do all this terrible stuff with Star Wars, but honestly, I think that Disney is not as bad as people say, because they've done so much good stuff. Like The Mandalorian has been game-changing for Star Wars.
You're right when people are on it that care about the product. I think the problem is the movies were given to people who didn't give a shit about Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think I've got a lot of problems with Abrams.
Yeah.
And I will even defend The Last Jedi, where it's like I like some of the ideas that Rian Johnson was throwing out. And I like Rian Johnson stuff. I love Knives Out. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
But what it doesn't have is the love. You can look at what Dave Filoni has done with Mandalorian, Clone Wars, and all of that, all of those shows, Rebels, all of those shows, and be like, this was made by someone who gets this world, who loves this world, and wants to see it done right.
Yeah.
And wants to see it done with effort. And, okay, that's all I've got. So you're number 2 now.
I want you to, because you know what my 2 favorite shows are.
Your 2 favorite show, okay.
But
I definitely know what your number one is. Are they both?
They both start with the same letter. So
They both start with the same. Okay, I definitely know what your number 1 is. What else starts with an A?
Let me tell you. My number 2. If middle school me knew that I put this show as number 2,
Adventure
he would be
Time.
angry. Yes,
Adventure Time.
He would be so mad at me. But I love Adventure Time, right? And because it grew up with me. Here's the thing: that when Adventure Time came out, 2010, I was either 8 or 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it started out as this ridiculous, colorful cartoon with these funny characters, and Jake the dog. Like, oh yeah, he's the same as me.
Human.
I was still in elementary school, and as I got older, Adventure Time got deeper, and you could see more story. You could see more like love between characters.
It is the definition of a slow burn.
It was just, and people. That's what a lot of people judge it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Adventure Time, that's ridiculous," But if they knew what was going on, if you knew all the story behind Adventure Time, I swear you wouldn't. I'm saying you, but I know you appreciate it.
Yeah, I love Adventure Time.
People who judge Adventure Time, they would not be saying the same things if they actually knew what the show was about and all the stuff that went into it, all the lore. And
that show could be. It reminds me of a D&D game where you just build.
That was actually a very, very big inspiration.
It's where you created this world building is on par with Star Wars, with Lord of the Rings, with some of the greatest worlds in like fiction. The Land of Ooo is amazing. Like
every time they make an Adventure Time video game, it's good, but I always think they could do better because there's so much to explore. It's literally a show called Adventure Time. I believe that they should make an Adventure Time game where it's literally just about you doing whatever you want and adventuring, and there's always something new to find. That's my one desire for an Adventure Time video game.
It's so colorful. The art, I love it. It's one of those things where it's like your art doesn't have to be complex to be appealing.
Yeah.
It can be fairly simple, but like if it gets the point across and it looks good, it's like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't say it had a great ensemble because Finn and Jake don't need.
They're great.
The extra characters, but all the extra characters are just.
Are we gonna neglect the fact that me and you are basically Finn and Jake? Like if you look at this,
I was like, wait, who's who? Oh wait, you have the long blonde hair.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm
and obviously,
like, wait a minute, put me in the hat.
I was about to say I'm smaller and I have a higher voice, so sometimes I'd be like, oh, my Finn, but no, I have to. Be
I
Jake.
also feel like you're the. Well, maybe I don't know which one of us. Neither of us are the voice of reason. Neither.
It depends the situation because we ask each other for advice, and sometimes one of us has an idea and the other one's like. So we actually switch back and forth between that role.
That show. You just go into like the rest of the cast. It's like I remember all of the characters. I remember Rainicorn. Yeah. I remember Bubblegum. I remember Mr. Peppermint is his name.
Or Peppermint Butler.
Peppermint Butler, that's his
Cinnamon
name.
Bun, and just
Cinnamon Bun, Marceline.
Ooh, even-
Marceline and the Ice King.
yeah,
Hands down, my favorite characters in that show.
dude. And those are two characters that like seem completely unrelated.
And then you realize how related they are.
Exactly. They have, because when they're both introduced, they're introduced completely separately, and they're like, one's a villain, one is a villain for one episode, and then becomes a sort
Member
of
the cast.
fun, sarcastic hero, and just but then you just see the story behind them, and that episode still like makes me
It's
emotional.
rough.
All the episodes they have with Marceline and Ice King.
Building up their relationship is good. I particularly remember like the episodes that where Marceline was dealing with her dad. She's got a real Raven type relationship with her father, with like Raven and Trigon, or
Dude,
Marceline and her dad.
It's so funny because you can put the Teen Titans cast up beside the Adventure Time cast.
It's like,
and each one has like an actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Because Beast Boy would be Jake, Finn would be Robin, BMO would be Cyborg. And Marceline, Princess Bubblegum is obviously Starfire, and Marceline is Raven.
That works way too well.
I know.
I want that fan art. I'm gonna make that now.
No, when I was literally in elementary school, I thought of that, and I wanted to make that fan art, but I had no drawing skills. And then I saw it online,
You're
and I
gonna
was
get an email in
jealous.
about 3 days.
They're like,
you.
"What the fuck? You talk about my idea on your podcast?" I'm sorry.
No, I'm gonna make it and email it to you.
Oh,
That's what's gonna happen.
I thought you
I'm
were
gonna
talking
be
about somebody-
bored and I'm gonna be drawing. I'm gonna be talking to people on Discord and be like, I need drawing ideas. Oh wait, that thing we talked about.
And you're just gonna be, dude. If you can make me some like a blend between the two worlds in one picture, because if you could somehow morph the tree fort and the Titans Tower together as
a
one
giant
building,
tea tree.
like that would be magnificent. That's the one thing it needs.
Adventure Time is, to this day, it's like I love it. It's such,
And just like the jokes always hit me the same reason I love Andy from Parks and Rec is one of the biggest reasons I love Jake is because he's such a lovable character, but sometimes he just says the most random stuff, and it just always gets me. Like, but Jake is more of a voice of reason, obviously smarter and more of a voice of reason than Andy, but Jake has that like thing that we both have where he can just like, he cannot pay attention to one thing for too long.
You mean ADHD? You mean we both cannot stay on a topic long enough?
ADHD, like whatever you want to call it. He's just.
You realize I couldn't
that
keep
prime character.
I couldn't keep 10 numbers straight, right? Like I got lost like 5 times between 10 and 3.
But we're talking about stuff we're passionate about. It's actually it makes a lot of sense that we get lost in these shows.
All right.
So you're number 2.
My number 2. We're finally taking a break from animation after 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row of animation. My number 2 is Breaking Bad.
Okay, that's a very, very different tone from
the rest of this.
Yes,
not really, because I'm going to tell you why. It's another look into characters, because these you give me the premise of Breaking Bad, and I would tell you it's like, it sounds like a good idea. It sounds like. It's like a chemistry school teacher gets cancer and has to cook meth to support his family. You tell me that, you hand me that on a piece of paper, and I would read that, and I'd be like, it could be interesting. And then you just blow my mind with what you presented. Breaking Bad Season 2 is probably one of my favorite on-screen relationships, some of the best cinema I've seen ever.
Yeah.
We were talking about good romances. Jane and Jesse. First of all, I love both of those actors, Kristen Ritter and Aaron Paul.
Yeah.
Both fantastic. And those two they play off each other so well, and where it goes in the show is so well done. And Walt goes through, it takes him 5 seasons, but he goes through an entire character arc. He goes through an entire story circle of like, you start here. You are this Mr. Rogers type character. And by the end of it, you're fucking Scarface.
Yeah.
You're Heisenberg. You went from Walter White to Heisenberg.
Yeah.
And the show was, of course, it was beloved by everyone. It's so well done. Here's how I can know a show is well done: is when I can show it to my dad and he wants to keep watching it with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, a lot of the stuff I'm into, he's just not. Like, my dad's not gonna watch She-Ra with me.
Yeah.
He's not gonna.
So do I make him watch Adventure Time? He might leave the room.
He actually didn't like me watching Adventure Time when I was younger. He thought it was too weird.
Preston's parents actually wouldn't let him watch Adventure Time, but not for the same reason. It's because they used the word sexy multiple times in that first season, and his parents were like, nope, this is weird. I don't like this. This is inappropriate. Get it off the TV.
All right. But Breaking Bad, I think it's just, you look at every character and you are immediately felt with a different emotion, and it's different for every person.
Yeah.
People love Gus or hate him. People love Walt or hate Walt, or love to hate him or hate to love him.
Yeah.
Jesse is the only character. Jesse is my favorite character out of that show because he's the only one I think that deserves the love. Walt does he's tragic at the very beginning, but we watch him do these terrible things and continue to do these terrible things. And yes, you know his reasons.
Yeah.
And yes, in some eyes, those reasons can be valid. But I think Walt, he eventually doesn't. He becomes the villain, but he's not the villain. Like, when it comes to like the back and forth between all these characters, it's great. Hank always is one of the most, for the situation at hand, he is one of the most capable television cops. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's always right under his nose,
Yeah.
he's still it's not like Die Hard where he's a buffoon.
Yeah. Quentin Lance.
That works too. Or it's and how every character bounces off of each other. Skylar and Walt, their whole relationship. There's a lot of people who hate Skylar.
Yeah.
Like, hate her, and I always just felt bad for her. It's like, this wasn't, you didn't ask for this, but it's what happened. I saw a great, this has nothing to do with the show, but I saw a great tweet that was like, sum up the American healthcare system in like one sentence. It's just like, tell them that there's a show about a chemistry teacher who has to sell meth to provide for his family. It's like, you summed it up. There you go.
Yeah.
That's American healthcare for you. But it's just, in the way this show uses color. If you ever have time, look at the color chart for Breaking Bad and how it starts versus how it ends, because it's dramatically different, and it's dramatically different gradually, where it gets darker and darker, and each color resembles something different in the show.
Yeah.
Like red involves a lot of murder or blood. Blue, of course, relates to the blue meth that Walter cooks. Purple with what's her name? Hank's wife. I can't remember her name right now.
Black hair.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. Marie.
Yeah.
Where she's kind of in this in between like, she's between blue and purple, which is her husband who's in the DEA and who's dealing with this blue meth, and Walt, who is this character who is murdering and doing all these terrible things at times. It's putting bodies into barrels to have them melt.
Yeah.
It's just one of those shows where it is, I'm on the edge of my seat, and it's also a great example with Chekhov's gun, the writing principle of like, if something appears in if there's a gun on the wall in a scene in Act 1, in Act 2 or 3 it should be used, or else why was it there?
Yeah.
The Breaking Bad, I would argue, has one of the ultimate Chekhov's gun with the ricin poison, where it's no spoiler, not really a spoiler, but it doesn't get used. It's presented in season 1. It's not technically used until season 5. Like, it's a plot point multiple times throughout the show, but it's not used in the traditional sense until like season 5.
God.
I think this show could be studied by how good it is at evolving characters. because no character begins the show the same way it ends. Jesse goes from this punk kid to this sympathetic, not hero, but someone that you want him to win. In my eyes, it's different for everyone in the show.
Yeah.
Walt goes from Mr. Rogers to Scarface.
Yeah.
Skylar goes. You feel bad for her at times, but she's also like terrible at other points. So like, does she deserve it or not?
Yeah.
It is the perfect encapsulation of a full character's arc. All right, your number one is what we're up to. I know your number one
is.
It's Arrow.
And it is an Arrow, and I know I will get a lot of crap, and I always get a lot of crap for saying that I like Arrow because everybody I talk to about the Arrowverse is like, oh yeah, I watched The Flash, but I don't watch Arrow, or I watched Supergirl, but I don't watch Arrow, and I'm like, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, I understand that, but everyone who trashes on it, I'm just like, the reason I love it so much is because I have a real respect for the idea of the character of Oliver Queen.
Of the Green Arrow.
And of course, I mean, no, Oliver Queen. I love the Green Arrow, of course, but like just the person that could create that and could do that is more interesting to me than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because of course he went through this long journey, but I love season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing somebody who's been through like trauma that we don't even know about yet just come back and be this completely different person, be a complete mystery, and try to juggle living a normal life and doing what he believes is best.
What he believes is going to save the city.
Yeah, and of course, we know now that he was right, but he sacrificed so much
along that way
to do that, and it's just like, I just love seeing him develop into even more than he already was when he came back from the island.
Mm-hmm. He had already gone through a full arc within the first episode, and then you made him go through a new. He had exited his starting reality and ended up in a new one.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the show, and then he's in his new reality.
Yeah.
For all the hero's journey folks out there, for all the writing majors.
Yeah.
He's in a new reality, and then goes through it again by the end. He goes through it throughout the seasons.
Yeah. That is like a very incredibly interesting point, is that Oliver has already been through a story by this point in time. He, and all the deep stuff, all the stuff they reveal using the flashback format, I also love, because you don't know, like, for some reason in the first season you find out he can speak Russian. We don't find out why he can speak Russian until like season 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have no idea. So they're literally they had this whole story laid out before they even started the show, and they used that to just make this really, really interesting dynamic between the Oliver that was, the Oliver that is, and the Oliver that we now know he's going to end up being.
And what spiraled out of it was, not some TV shows, and then some, but some really good ones.
Yeah, Flash is an honorable mention for me. I have my problems with Supergirl because of what it turned into with
that's there's some issue, like
it's just the message that it was like trying to push too hard. I just wanted a TV show, and it was trying to tell me something.
Yeah, it was an example of like putting your message before the story, when in reality a story should come first and it should relay that message.
Yeah.
You shouldn't start with that. You should have it should come out of the story.
And even though I didn't like that it did
whether
that,
or not
I did not
you
give
agree
up on Supergirl.
with those, whether or not you agree with what the things that show is pushing. Like myself, I agree with most of what they were on about.
Yeah.
With what that show talked about. But it needs to be presented in a way that, like, the way it's the difference in something appearing naturally and having your own, the way a Twilight Zone episode would do it, where it's like you're going to think about this yourself. And that's what's going to cause people to think or change.
Yeah.
But maybe that show's not, maybe I'm giving the show too much credit. Maybe it's not trying to change. Maybe it's not trying to change other people. Maybe it's just, I don't know.
Telling them, like, we believe this. Suck it. But that, like, okay, I don't even want to talk about Supergirl. Like I said, I didn't give up on Supergirl. I'm still watching Supergirl. I didn't stop watching it because of that. I just had
No.
my problems with it. But Arrow, I know a lot of people say like the later seasons, yes, they did have their problems, but you have to
So did
realize,
Community.
yeah, yes, because Dan Harmon left, and that there was that big problem. But like, the only reason Arrow got to that point was because they had to keep telling the flashback stories, and they had to keep relating it to that. And I mean, at the end of the first season, part of the city is destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the second season, a whole army of people march onto the city. So like they're trying to get bigger and bigger each time, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sometimes they didn't know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, now we know that season 8 ended with literally like the biggest possible disaster that could happen. But Oliver saved everyone. Like he's the reason, and I that's one of my favorite things about Arrow is that season 8 was actually really good. They gave him the best possible last season they could have,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. And people say that the Green Arrow and the Canaries episode was actually a waste. I don't agree. I believe now that it was kind of a waste because they did a backdoor pilot for a decided not to make.
Yeah.
But I do believe the story of Mia and the legacy that Oliver carried is just as important as what Oliver did while he was alive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my opinion on this, at least the last season.
All right. My number one is not going to be as controversial as yours. My number one is a show that I know is beloved by a lot of people.
Yeah.
By a lot of people. And it's a show I grew up with. It is a show, I'm going to show my age. It is a show I remember going to Blockbuster to get DVDs of to watch. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, what a good pick.
It took everything I've talked about in these previous lists.
Yeah.
Whether it is the world building from Clone Wars, or the character arcs in Breaking Bad, or the animation of Love, Death, and Robots and Animaniacs and Tiny Toons. It takes all of that and does it all perfect.
Yes.
It is so close. It is so close to being the perfect television show.
Yeah.
And me, who loves martial arts and loves mystical or like the hard magic systems of these types of shows, where Avatar has rules to how the characters work, how this world works, and how the characters interact with it.
Yeah.
A waterbender can only bend water, and they can do other things at certain points, whether it's a full moon or whatever.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Aang goes through a complete character arc with, he starts as like this kid who ran away because he was scared. He was scared of what he was supposed to become. He didn't know how to become. He was crippled by pressure. He didn't know, he was too afraid of what he would have. He was too afraid that he would fail.
Yeah.
At becoming the Avatar, and by running away, it got immensely worse.
Yeah.
This is a children's show that opens on a genocide, a successful genocide.
Yeah.
The Aeronomads are gone. He is alone, and he develops this new family with Sokka and Katara and Toph. Toph is one of the most. It's one of those characters where I'm like, you took this element that only works in this world. You took her ability to bend, to be able to manipulate the earth, and you made it to where what perceived in our world to be a weakness is actually her greatest strength.
Yes.
The fact that she's blind made her the greatest earthbender there ever was.
Yeah.
And Toph alone, she breaks that. She even kind of parallels Aang. It's like she was this one thing. Oh, hit my mic. She was this one thing. She was this kind of rich kid who was sneaking away because she didn't want her. She didn't think her parents would accept her, and she was kind of right. And so she ran off with Aang. But as opposed to where Aang left and everything got worse, Toph left and everything got better.
Yeah.
For her, she was able to help end 100-year war.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good contrast because Aang ran away because he was scared, and Toph, yeah, she was scared that her parents would accept her, but she wasn't scared of being the person that she was,
Yeah.
which is what Aang was. So that's really the best way to put these two characters beside each other.
It has the elements we talked about with other shows where it's like you put these characters together and it will write itself. Zuko. We haven't even mentioned Zuko. The greatest redemption of a character I have seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Where you have this character, you have the cliche of a character, the bad guy becoming the good guy. We've seen this. Dragon Ball has done this forever.
Yeah.
It goes back to even older folktales than that, but Zuko, he has this the desire of him. It's like for the first 2 seasons, it's capture the Avatar. It's the only way he'll be accepted back by his father, by his sister, or by his mother's not around, but like by his nation.
Yeah,
it is supposed to be his destiny. When in reality, no. Aang's destiny is to become the Avatar. Zuko's destiny was to capture the Avatar, but it was the destiny that wasn't made for him. It was one that was forced upon him.
Yeah.
And he, when he realizes, like, no, that's not what I am. That's not what I'm gonna be. I'm gonna go. He literally confronts his father and is like, no, I'm going to join the Avatar, and we're gonna stop you.
Yeah.
You want to talk about one of the most cry-heavy moments I've ever had in my life is Leaves from the Vine. I cannot hear those notes without tearing up. I can't think about it without getting sad about it.
Yeah.
Iroh is another example of a character who's gone through an arc. He's gone through everything. He successfully was toppling nations.
Yeah.
And he just until it resulted in him losing his son. And at that point on, he realized, no, from now on, I'm no longer a warmonger. I'm no longer gonna pillage nations. I'm done. I'm going the life of peace from now on.
Yeah.
And he was redeemed. He's redeemed in the same way Zuko will later be redeemed.
Yeah.
Zuko will be redeemed, aimed and join the good side in this scenario.
Yeah.
Eventually as well. And having them pair together, it's such a good foil.
Yeah.
It's so well done. And if we want to get into the more technicals, the fights, you've based all of the way that these characters move off the real martial arts, so it all looks great.
Yeah.
They all move, they all flow in great ways, and the animation is astounding. It was like Teen Titans, where this was one of the first times where the Western audience was really more exposed to anime styles. Teen Titans and Avatar were both abundant with that, where yes, the Toonami era had happened, but this was the first time it was happening here.
Yeah,
because these were American shows, and for all of these reasons, for every reason I've talked about, for why these other shows are great, the world building, the animation, the characters, Avatar creates all of it and puts it all into 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Just 3 seasons. Granted, they're like 20-something episodes apiece. 3 seasons of the greatest television to ever be aired.
Yeah. And the another thing about Iroh, though, is like he kind of gets a double redemption, because like you said, he was the general, he's the warmonger, he decided to become peaceful, but then he realizes, like he has to work himself up when he's in prison, that the only way to keep peace is to become a fighter again.
Yeah.
Which is, comes up with him and
the
joining
White
the White Lotus, and just everything that he did for Zuko was him, trying to help Zuko find a way to fight for what was right.
And I didn't, not to cut you off, but I forgot to completely mention the culturals of the show, the culture in the show. You took various facets from different cultures of Chinese, Japanese, Inuit is the correct word for the term that the water tribes are based off of.
Yeah. I think that's right.
Okay, I wanted to make really sure because I'm like, which one is the offensive term?
I don't know the offensive term for that, so I couldn't tell you.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
But I could be completely wrong. If I am, I'm sorry. But all the four nations are based off of different real world cultures, and it presents a lot of them. The Avatar, there's a whole episode where Aang goes into like what are chakras and what are they and how they explain it to him.
Yeah.
And granted, it means something different in this world, but it's still things that are a part of our reality.
Yeah.
The kind of industrialization of the Fire Nation in wartime parallels that of Japan during World War II.
Yeah.
Where it's like you became a much more technologically futuristic point past that once you, because of wartime, but once you were out of wartime, we see in Legend of Korra, there's just this industrial revolution that happens. And I haven't talked about Korra, but I think it's a great show too.
Yeah.
Granted, it's hard to live up to the legacy of Avatar, and I think that's why it kind of had the Teen Titans Go effect of like a certain level of backlash. Mm-hmm. But I think it presents some really good ideas. The idea of a Mon, the bending equalist, like you present these things, it's like, yeah, these are things that would exist in this world.
Dude, I like you said about the Korra Teen Titans Go thing, I know what you mean. I know what you mean by that, but like, if anyone tried to equate those two, like actually literally thought that those two are anywhere similar, that would actually
I'm just
make
saying
me
that
no, I know what you're saying because I know you respect Korra and I know.
I was just saying that they both had some level of backlash.
Yeah, but I was like, Korra actually tried to be the same style and to do Avatar justice.
Yes.
Teen Titans Go is obviously a parody, so it's like
it's a parody, so it's something different.
Anyone who thinks those are two, and like I said, I'm not talking about
it's like comparing Attack on Titan to Junior High. It's just not the same thing.
Yeah.
Korra's biggest problem was that it was only renewed by season by season. And the time slots kept changing for that show.
Yeah.
It was constantly in rotation of when it was airing. So it was all over the place in ratings because you never knew until the final season. I think the final season or the last two seasons didn't even air on television. It was only on Nickelodeon's website. And I would still, me and one of my childhood best friends, Nico, we would run home and watch the episode because we were that into this show.
Yeah.
And this current revitalization of the show, thanks to Netflix, of people coming, I think because our generation are adults now, and we're realizing it's like, oh, this fandom is blown up more than I could ever imagine, and I think it deserves every bit of it.
Yeah, definitely. I actually never got to watch Korra, but
it's on
Netflix. I definitely would because I like the idea of the more modern style.
So it's like it's like a World War II era. So where it was very much more feudal Japan type era for the original Avatar. It's much more like 1920s for Legend of Korra.
Yeah. Oh.
And it takes things like the bending. It's like, oh yeah, you guys have electricity because no shit, firebenders can move this shit with their brains.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, of course there would be like huge technological leaps and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how long I just rambled.
No.
But that's how good this show is. If you've never seen Avatar, it's on Netflix. I own the box set. Yeah. Because I'm just like, this is a show I will give. It deserves me to have.
Yeah.
And it is fantastic. It is a fantastic show. All right. I think we need to do honorable mentions.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you want to go first?
I have a few, like I said, The Flash is definitely on my honorable mentions because that show, it took what Arrow was doing, and it made it more lighthearted, and it showed people that these types of shows don't have to be dark and they don't have to be the same to be just as interesting and just as compelling. And I also love how they did something that a lot of shows didn't do in the way of expanding the universe and bringing them back together, but still having separate plot lines and separate shows. That was definitely really interesting to me. Justice League Unlimited was one of my honorable mentions.
I should have put that down.
It was on my list until I realized that Teen Titans had a much bigger impact on me.
Yeah.
And Justice League obviously.
And here's the thing between those two, the based on there's probably like a couple year gap between when you were the right age between which show was the most impactful on you.
Yeah, because like I remember when I was younger, we got the McDonald's toys for I think it was Justice League based, and I
remember those.
I got these little trading cards that told me they gave me information on Batman and the Flash, and I used to carry those around and just read them. I don't know why. I just had this fascination with both of those characters.
And don't feel bad about that. Because I have a deck of cards upstairs that you get from completing rounds in the Injustice arcade game.
Dude, I only have one of those because
I'll show you the deck later because I grind. Back when in the before times before COVID.
Yeah.
BC.
Oh no, that actually works.
Yeah. BC 19. I would just I went on a cruise and I went to the arcade and just was playing that game. And it was getting these cards and there was like, dude, Reverse Flash and Hal Jordan and Atrocitus and all these. Right. It's such a good.
I only got Solomon Grundy. Like one of the bronze characters, one of the most basic characters in that freaking game.
All right. You have any more honorable mentions?
The most recent show I watched was called. I don't know if I would say this is one of my favorite shows, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning because of the power of the acting in that show. It was called Little Fires Everywhere. It's on Hulu.
Oh yeah, you told me about this. I need to watch it.
Yeah, it had Kerry Washington and Reese Witherspoon in it. And it just, and I'm not going to talk about the themes and stuff like that because honestly, like,
you go into it.
It was just the acting was the thing that compelled me the most because Kerry Washington's character was clearly like, it kind of made me mad at first because it really seemed to me like Reese Witherspoon's character was trying to be nice to her, reach out to her, and Kerry Washington's character just would not take it. She was just being rude. She made me not like her, but then she made me want to like her, and she made me, and I don't want to go too deep into this, but she made me feel like I had to like her in a way, like I was supposed to. But I eventually ended up. She definitely redeemed herself by the end of the series, but just watching both of their facial expressions, it was so interesting. Especially one scene where Reese Witherspoon talks about her kids and talks about kids growing up and not being able to like touch them anymore, where she starts crying. Like, I just love. I went straight from BoJack to that, and being able to see the micro expressions and stuff like that on the actors' faces was just such. I just missed that with live action acting. So that's why I wanted to mention it because the acting was really, really good in that show.
I definitely need to check that out.
And it's got some really, really deep themes, and I gotta say the ending seems to sort of come out of nowhere because there's like this whole twist mystery thing. But that's because they took the ending from the book and they changed it for the show. But I don't want to talk about that because I don't want to spoil anything. But definitely, if you watch it for anything, watch it for the conflicting themes, those questions you ask yourself, like we were talking about earlier. It's got those, and of course, like I said, the acting. That's probably my last honorable mention.
My honorable mentions would include things like Doctor Who. I really like the idea of legacy characters, like what Avatar did, and Doctor Who is, of course, have been doing it much longer and in different ways. Both Batman and X-Men, the animated series, I think really distill what the Batman and what the X-Men are. Yeah. And like I think Deadpool makes a joke about it in Deadpool 2. It's like dated allegory for racism in the 40s coming through. It's like you're right, but like not like if you look at what that actually is, like yeah, you can really go deep into that. Batman the animated series goes. X-Men does like talks about how like you are this marginalized group, and they really bank into that. Batman, the animated series, distills this one guy. It's like, what is Batman?
Yeah.
And it gives us, of course, one of the greatest lines is, "I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman."
Yeah. I also love how Batman the Animated Series, because it took each episode for a different villain. Like the way that it gave us really some sympathetic storylines that we didn't expect from those comic book villains that sometimes didn't even get any
Clayface
sympathy.
is one that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
Other shows, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's not the hardest hitting show, of course, but like it is one that I remember from my childhood and I love, and I think has inspired a lot of how my love of martial arts and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Samurai Jack, of course, I talked a little bit about Gendy Tartakovsky and his work, and Samurai Jack is definitely my favorite of those. Community was an honorable mention. We talked about it. Afro Samurai, which if you haven't seen that, it's a really good anime. It's only like 5 episodes long.
Yeah.
Once again, very crude, but I won't go too into it here. But it's just some really cool fights and some really cool. The motivation of the main character I really enjoy, and his troubles. And then my last honorable mention is going to be Dragon Ball Z, another of that Toonami era that I was very much in love with, and very much has inspired my current love of things.
Yeah.
And also a show I can't watch and then go immediately work out.
Yeah.
I have to immediately work out after watching that show because you're just like getting stronger,
Yeah.
breaking limits.
Wait, before we finish up talking about TV shows, I need to ask you, because I know that these will probably be like little kids shows, so that they're definitely not our favorite shows anymore, but what do you think was your first favorite TV show?
My first favorite TV show, honestly, Avatar, because I was talking about, it was when I was younger. I would go to Blockbuster, and I remember it so vividly. I saw Toph on the cover of the season 2 DVD, and I was like, this looks cool. And then I saw it. I came home, and I remember blindfolding myself or closing my eyes and trying to like maneuver my way around the living room with the seismic way that Toph does, like throwing her foot down to try to feel where everything is.
Yeah.
Like that's the little kid in me that was doing that.
Yeah.
When I was younger. And it's just a show I've loved forever and will continue to love.
Yeah.
Power Rangers is also really up there because
Yeah.
it's just like, I just love fighting and martial arts. What was yours?
I was thinking, because the first one I remember loving was Bob the Builder.
Oh yeah,
Which,
that's a
like,
good
of
one.
course, a classic animation, Bob the Builder, where
There's probably some stuff from when I was really young, but my memories start a little later than most people.
The only reason I remember liking Bob the Builder was because I of course remember watching it when I was younger, because I remember like animation style. I remember having one of those hats that he had,
Yeah.
and I was so proud to have that hat, and I left it outside in an anthill, and the ants somehow tore it apart, and it was a plastic helmet, and they like cracked through it, and I was really upset, but I was also amazed that ants could do that. I don't know why, that
just blown away by that fact.
that's one of my first memories, like in general. So,
And what we can take away from this is just like how much media has affected all of us.
yeah,
And how I believe it is, TVs and movies are one of the greatest art forms ever. Just storytelling in general, and how important it is to all of us.
yeah,
And that's we talk about a lot of movies and stuff here, but like that's why,
yeah.
because I think it's that important.
Like I've sort of been back and forth because I want to train and I want to learn stuff, but I think that as an actor, as a performer, and just as a regular person, that watching movies and TV is really important, just as a study of people and life, and just like for tons of reasons. I could go into it for a long time, but I really do think it's important to watch some kind of media, whether it's reading or watching movies or TV. Just like experiencing something outside of yourself is vital.
All right. I
That's the
think
last
we're
thing I
about
have to say.
done here.
Yeah,
This was a long podcast.
that was longer than the other top 10s.
That was
because we just
definitely
dipped
longer
into
for
TV
the other
itself.
top 10s. All right. I think we're done here.
All
I
right.
think you gonna hum us off. You think you- There it is. I've been. Dude.